Who's in the Million Dollar Mailbox? One guess who? Who'd never ever start an argument? Who'd never show a bit of temperament? Who's never wrong but always right? Who'd never dream of starting a fight? Who's on your screen with the comic book scene? No one but Dan Shaheen.
Oh, hello, world. Hey, welcome to the Million Dollar Mailbox. I'm your old pal, Dan Shaheen. Boy, we got a lot of great stuff to look at today. The mailbox has just been filling and filling and filling. I'll be honest with you folks. I've been sort of like, sometimes I'm struggling to where I want this channel to go and how I want it to work. You know, I've been trying some new things. For those of you who've tuned in on Mondays, like 5 of you who've tuned in this Friday to Danger Room. I want you guys to come and check me out on Tuesdays, because that's when I talk about everything. I want to say everything except comic books, but actually it always comes back to comics in some way. So that's a lot of fun. But today, man, the return of the $1 Million Mailbox. What's that? Well, that's that thing where you send your comics to me, Dan Shaheen, at the $1 Million Mailbox, P.O. Box 1163, Arcata, California, 95518. But then I don't just look at them alone. I bring in an expert. We've got a former publisher and current YouTube streaming star. Some people call him Larry. You know him as Captain Fun. Let's bring him in. But wait, we can't do it here. Let's go somewhere else. Where are we going to go? Let's go. Yeah, no, right here. Let's bring him in. Hey, Larry. What's happening, buddy?
Dan Shaheen. I love it. You called me an expert. Captain Fun. This is great. My kid actually we're watching Star Trek, and I was like, dude, I gotta go. $1 Million Mailbox. That's the priority. And he's like, hey, can I be on sometime? And I'm like, well, you know a guy, maybe not today, but we'll figure it out. We'll put a comic book novice in front of your stuff, because we're this close to setting up a sub somewhere in San Francisco. We went out for New Comics Day yesterday.
Yeah,
he had to have his Savage Avengers. He's super into Miles Morales' appearances. And I got a cool thing. Speaking of Danger Room and comics, my favorite one you did was that Cerebus one. And I found out, we went to Comics Experience, went to go say hey to Hibbs, and he had this 8 DVD thing of Dave talking for High Society now. I don't know if you know about this, but IDW published it in 2015. And it's 7 DVDs of Dave just reading all the parts of High Society, with then extra special behind-the-scenes commentary from Dave. So it's actually... And
he does the voices and stuff? He's doing Elrond?
I haven't put it in yet. Yeah, I mean, I haven't put it in yet, so I don't know. But when I get done with it, I'm sending it to you, who's the only person I know that would give the kind of shit that I care about that.
But I go, one DVD might be a struggle to make it through, but like 8 of them.
That's why I loved it. I'm like, this is so Dave. And honestly, if I'd had this idea, I would have done this for Astronauts in Trouble. Like, here's, but... or maybe a radio play or something. I don't know. But where I do all the parts, you know what I mean?
Dave's that guy who, like, he found this huge level of success, right, with Cerebus. I mean, huge for what it was for indie. And it went down. Like, he lost a lot of his audience, right?
But the thing is, I do not disagree. He had a huge level of success. I mean, I don't remember the numbers, but in the stores, it was perceived that it was Marvel and DC and ElfQuest and Dave. For, like they say, Dark Horse and Image now.
Yeah.
He was said in the same breath. And, he bought his big house in Kitchener off comic book money. I don't think that saying he was a huge success is actually a hyperbole at all.
Not at all.
So,
not at all. And it is a huge success.
Yeah. I just thought, what's funny about buying that is I just got the Strange Death of Alex Raymond. So I was like, okay, I'm I'm gonna be set for Dave for like a year now, and then like a week later, I see this, and I'm like, oh my god. I don't know if
Okay.
you know this, but I had a 1973 AMC Gremlin when I drove into San Francisco. It had like 1 billion miles on it. The doors didn't lock. It was great. I lived outside the Panhandle of Golden Gate Park, and
Sure.
routinely, like I'd have to go, like, guys, I got to go to my job in Emeryville. You got to not sleep in my car anymore. But I had this giant bumper sticker on the back that said Dave Head. And I was trying to start, like, that's what Dave Sim fans should be called, like Deadheads, but I'm a Dave Head.
Sure.
And only I attained that level of Dave Sim fandom, I think, because nobody uses that.
I'm not. Although, I consider myself a fan for sure. I've got a Diamondback deck. You got one of those?
I did. I had the stuffed animal and stuff. I had all that stuff.
Oh my gosh.
When I moved, I sold it all to get moving money. But,
well, Larry, I promise you, I'll bring you back in when I talk about high society then, and let's
all
just
right,
talk
cool.
about it. And we should read.
Why
don't you read The Many Deaths of Alex Raymond? I've been working my way through it, and we'll talk about that too.
All right, that's cool. I'll tell you when I finish that up. That's awesome. Dan, this is the best. I wish everybody had a friend like you that said, hey, that dumb shit that we share, let's talk about that for an hour. This is really fun. I love it.
It's fun for me
fun
too.
All right. Anyway.
However, it's not all fun. There's a lot of business involved in this, Larry. And I think it's time that we take a deep dive. You know where we got to go.
The $1 Million Mailbox. Yeah.
Deep inside the $1 Million Mailbox.
This cracks up my wife, but I have this. I don't know if you can read it. It's the address for the $1 Million Mailbox. And it has an exclamation point at the end, because that's how we do it here. $1 Million Mailbox.
Good gravy. I love getting stuff in the mail. Nothing I love more than getting free comics in the mail. And I say, I was a little worried today that maybe you weren't going to show up, Larry. I'll be honest. I was a little scared for a minute.
I cut it close because of new Star Trek today. I'm really sorry.
I started feeling like uptight. I'm like, what am I going to do? And then I remembered.
I can handle things. I'm smart. Not like everybody says. Like, Joe, I'm smart and I want respect.
Yes, folks.
Fair enough.
How do we get respect? Oh, I'll show you a way that I can win respect with the people out there. Oh, how about 20 copies of Skate Man #1?
Is respect really the word you're looking for there?
And my latest.
All right, that one.
9. Come on.
Yeah, slabbing and getting a 9.6. I'll give you respect for that one.
Bells.
It's the rest of that firewood I don't understand.
Well, in the future that I want to live in, this is currency, right?
I gotcha. Right.
Skate coin is the future.
Variant Quatloos.
Absolutely. All right, today, Larry, we're going to talk about, I got 3 different creators to showcase today. Okay, one of whom we've looked at before. So I think we should start with Nandor Fox Schaffer's Man-Child.
Can I just, I know I'm super bad about this, just interrupt him, but can I say my favorite bits in the $1 Million Mailbox is when we have new stuff from guys that have shown up before. Because that means not only is there value to them, we're putting their names out there and we're telling them honestly what we think. They can listen or not, but either way, it's that Oscar Wilde thing. That's the only thing worse than being talked about is not being talked about. Right?
Absolutely.
And so I just love it because those guys are fearless. Like, tell me what you think again, guys. And I appreciate those guys. This is going to be fun.
Well, this fella, Nandor Fox Schaffer, this guy wants to do comics, man. Remember we looked at his Seasons graphic novel, Larry?
Yes, I totally remember. I really enjoyed that.
Really interesting. He wants to be a comics writer, and he's not. He doesn't want. I'm sorry. Let me change that. He doesn't want to be a comics writer. He is a comics writer. He's produced multiple and publisher. Really, he's produced multiple graphic novels, and now he's doing a sort of which he's co-created, but he's been sort of the driving, either the writer or the publisher behind it. And so now we've got the Kickstarter book, Man-Child, Superheroes as You Once Knew Them. So let me just start it out with the elephant in the room a little bit, which is, Larry, do you like the Venture Brothers?
Yes, provisionally. I mean, I think it's good in that if you like that kind of thing, that's the kind of thing you like. I'm just not a cartoon guy, and
You're not.
I'm not. And so one of the only cartoons I love is Speed Racer, but the other one is Johnny Quest. So like making fun of Johnny Quest in a cartoon is not the way to my heart.
That's hilarious.
But I get it. I get what they're doing. I get why people like it. I'm not going to shit on it like I would Star Trek Discovery. But it's just not for me. I love Archer, you know? So like Archer is my level of thing. I think if they weren't using Johnny Quest as a jumping off point, I'd probably really like it. But there's just too much where I'm like, oh, why are they doing that? That's just mean.
Well, it's funny that you say that, because when I think of comics or cartoons that I think I should love but never really loved, like Johnny Quest and Speed Racer, like, were not like my vibe, I guess.
Well, you probably weren't even born yet, right? I mean,
I wasn't.
See, I was just the age where I was like 6 or 8 when I was watching those. So, you know, Speed Racer gets a machine gun and starts shooting people. That was like my dream when I was 6 or 8.
Well, yeah. I love the Venture Brothers, and I love their character, the Monarch, right? So, and then there's the sort of Monarch's chubby sidekick, who this guy just instantly kind of reminds me of, right? But it really does go in a different direction. I don't know how much of that was an inspiration point or not, because frankly, not everyone, that's a pretty popular cartoon, but not everybody's heard of it.
Yeah, I think it's more of a jumping off point, right? Inspiration.
I think so.
Yeah.
Well,
I love this. Wait, before we get off the cover, I just love that. When you can look at cover postage stamp size and get what's going on. There's like a really cool logo with that Kirby crackle across the top. A couple of there's a balloon and then a burst. It's like 2 things, and then a caption box and a figure in the middle. And so that cover is excellent. That cover did its job.
The art throughout,
I wanted to give them
solid.
I wanted to give them credit for that, because you always hear don't judge a book by its cover, but that's literally 90% of how comics are bought. You know,
or prose books, to be honest, right? The
I guess,
important, even on prose books. Or why would they even bother? Okay, so what I'm going to say is, I'm going to start off with superlatives here, because the art all the way through is the kind that I like. It's clear storytelling. It's not trying to be overly rendered, but it's got solid attention to facial reactions, body language, etc. Like it's all there.
I love the coloring, which is rare because my favorite are black and white books. But this is the kind of coloring that I expect a comic book looks like, and not the crazy, Photoshop stuff that is done now. The just computerized coloring. It's just I don't dig it. This I'm sure was done with a computer, right? Nobody's hand cutting ruby lith anymore. But they're solid bits of color. It doesn't hurt your eyes. You can concentrate on the story. This is just top marks. I kind of am gonna just surf the wave while you go off, because most of what I'm gonna say is like, yeah, you're right, Dan.
Well, it's like attention to detail, understanding color and color composition, and how the eye should flow, and how the complementary colors need to work out to do what you want to do. He's doing it. They're doing it here in Man-Child.
They're doing it.
And obviously it's a riff on sort of classic superhero comics. But what I like, because I get a lot of stuff in the mail, and a lot of times it's just people trying to do superheroes. Like, I always wanted to do a superhero book, so here's kind of my angle on it. That's not what this is. This is more of a character study of this sort of introverted guy, and it's got a lot of fun stuff going on. And on top of it, the superhero stuff, like the design work and the action and stuff, is all good, solid, fun to read. Good job by the artist on this one. Good job. Where it starts getting really weird is we're sort of walking the line between is this a fantasy persona between of our main character? Our main character, sort of retail schlubby virgin, lives in his parents' basement. Literally all of those things, all of those boxes are checked. And that it learns in this issue, though, about the death of Stu Leeds. Okay. And Stu Leeds is their Stan Lee. So he's really bummed about the death of Stan Lee, and he's going to commiserate at the comic book store with a drinking session with his buddies at the comic book store. And of course, there's always one guy. There's always one. It's usually me. There's always one guy who's got to come in and shit all over the legacy of the guy who just died.
Look at that page, though, man. That's a giant info dump on the right-hand side. And that all works. It totally works.
Yeah, totally flows.
Whoever lettered that did a good job.
I was saving the lettering for last because I know the lettering.
All right. I won't get going. Really, you know me with my...
No, anytime dive into lettering, but I was going to leave that as like cherry on top because
it really
that
is.
Professionalism, that market professionalism. Although really interesting, Larry, one of the guys we're going to see later broke a lot of the rules we talk about in lettering and that we think about, and yet it totally works. I can't wait to get to that.
Yeah, that's cool.
To that stuff. I'll show you. Okay, this stuff just shows a really good command of, it's tough to do talking heads and make it even somewhat dynamic and make it followable and stuff like that. It takes real cartooning skills that are hidden, right? They're not like, it's not a big action scene. It's something maybe even harder to make exciting or to make interesting, I should say.
I love that guy.
Buddy, let me
just people in a room around a table, but look at that. That's friggin' great.
It's super good. One thing I didn't there's some kind of photoshopped blurred background that takes me a little bit. It's the one place where the digital effects show through a little bit more than I want them to. Let me see if I can. It's hard to see, but those are like real comics.
Yeah, it could be just as simple as, you wanted to put real comics in there, but didn't want somebody to yell trademark issues or whatever.
I think that's part of it.
Yeah. I get what you mean. It stands out as artificial with all that organic line work that the artist is doing.
It really does stand out in that way. Although that's probably the worst thing that I can say about this book. So
if that's what we're talking about, you got a 99 instead of 100, right?
Totally.
for doing the job.
Absolutely. Okay, so this guy, though, I want to read a little bit about his thing because, we've all know this guy or have even been this guy. They're talking about Stu Leeds that died today in this book. And it's, why? He was a thief, just made money off of other people's creations. He says, take that back. He says, do your research. It's the facts. Jacob Kearney, Stephen Ditto, Ron Beck, Carl Burgess, Keith Berber, all got screwed over by Stu Leeds and novel comics, especially Jacob Kearney. He's the one who made the plots and created the characters. All Leeds ever did was fill in the dialogue balloons, maybe not even that, knowing him. The guy didn't want to be in the comics business. He was ashamed of it. And he made a very nice living along the way, fooling the world that he was some genius while he was in actuality a total fraud, stealing the rightful fame from those beneath him because he was the face of the company. I'm not shedding any tears. Harsh, dude.
I know. It's kind of because everybody in comics knows that story. I'd go so far as anybody who buys this comic is gonna know who all those people are supposed to be.
No doubt.
It's a little on the painful side, hearing it all spelled out, but having different guys' names. Jacob.
It ain't wrong. He's not wrong.
Oh, he's not wrong at all. That's what I mean. That's why it's a little painful. It's like all the euphemisms. It's like hearing crap when you really know the guy said shit on TV. It's like, I know what you're getting at. Just say the words. Say the word.
I've gone back and forth on Stan's legacy. Part of me goes like, they never, like Kirby, obviously Fantastic Four, all the characters he created, great. But like, would it have been the same without the synergy of him and Jack at that moment in time? I don't know.
Yeah. I don't go back and forth, but I come from my old marketing and advertising and promotion standpoint, is that absolutely none of that happens without Stan waving the flag. So, it's awful if you're on that side and people got, Kirby clearly got screwed. But I don't deep dive into it. Like the retailer Bob Beerbaum is going through history on his Facebook right now. And I love reading that because I just don't, it doesn't bother me at all, because when I got old enough to understand what was happening, it was clear to me that the intent was to just, bombast everything. It's the best goddamn thing ever. Our distinguished competition, has old dusty stuff and we're the new coolness. Yeah. Like no one would think anything of it if he started doing that today, because that's how it is. So, but maybe I always feel like Animal House, right? That like, we're not saying that we didn't take a few liberties with our female guests. We did. Right? So that's how I feel about Stan. I'm not saying that guy's blameless. He clearly screwed some people. But also, he had that Marvel stipend at the end of his life just being like Stan. I don't know. I read some Marvel paperwork in the mid 90s, and he was getting like $900,000 a year just to be Stan. So that's a pretty good gig. Did he have to step on everybody else's careers to get that? Probably not. But
and even in death, now Marvel has licensed his image, right? So even after they're going to trot his dead pixelized corpse out in front of
everybody. But see, I don't think that's it at all. I think he's the guy on the Marvel dollar bill, right? He's George Washington. So go ahead. He died. That's a shame. But boy, he chopped down that cherry tree, didn't he?
Sweet. And he owned slaves, and he did a lot of shitty things too, right?
Exactly.
Like he's a human being.
Exactly.
And we tried to like deify guys like Stan. I think the big thing to me was just the balance and how much Stan did try to steer the spotlight successfully onto himself. But I met him one time. I met him one time only. And I brought to him the Silver Surfer Jack Kirby graphic novel that he did with Jack Kirby. Yeah. Right. It was an OGN in the days before that was a thing. And I showed it to him and I was like, man, I love this. This is a really cool book. And all he could talk about literally for the whole 10 minutes that I had a one-on-one with him was how great Jack Kirby did on that book.
That's great. Well, as a
maybe
guy,
it was because I had his Comics Journal interview sitting on the table next to us that has him as like a huckster on the cover, and it was like just a lampoon, just a lambasting interview all about Stan and all about all these issues that maybe he recognized that I knew what was really up with his legacy. I don't know.
Yeah, people are complex cats, right? That's all I can say.
Yeah,
I mean, he, what he was doing professionally has nothing to do with the guy that took the toupee off and hugged his wife when he went to bed, right?
True.
Yeah, like Stan was clear. Public Stan was clearly a character. So I think that's cool that you had 10 minutes to speak to him, right? Because you get a little.
It was great.
Yeah.
And it was in the era of, you got to look this up sometime. Maybe I'll talk about it on the show. Stanlee.net, his website.
Oh, I totally remember that. Yeah.
Which was a big scam and a huge thing involved with it. And I remember being in on the pitch meeting, and I actually raised my hand and said, guys, you're pitching all these new superheroes from Stan as if he's making superheroes for 12-year-olds again. And I was like, that's not the people that read most comics these days. This was back in like the year this is in 1999 or 2000.
Yeah.
And it was just deafening silent. Nobody wanted to hear anything about that. Like
Right,
it
right.
wasn't. I felt pretty stupid for even saying it.
Well, yeah. There's nothing wrong with voicing some objections. That was clear that was the way that was going to go, though. It was clearly. But see, I kind of don't. Even then, I don't blame Stan because he set his whole thing up as the guy that sticks his head above the parapet of the castle, right, to see what's going on. And then he turned into like the town crier. Here's what's going on in our giant new city. It's not just a castle anymore; it's a town.
Totally true.
And then, so then when you're an old man, it kind of, oh, you want to use my name for this newfangled .net shit? Go ahead. You know, I'll say it's the coolest thing ever. And I kind of see, I mean, I don't know, as you should know, as a couple of guys that were, you know, doing comics when they were kids and now got a little gray in the muzzle. Like I'm pretty sure the two of us have a different, more nuanced and complex view of how the business side goes than we did when we were younger. Like,
oh, no doubt about it.
Because I mean, but that's why Stan worked, right? Because when you're a kid, you swallow it. It sounds like, you know, the cool uncle with all the shit, you know, like, oh, so I don't
so
blame
funny. Stan was old even back then. Like Stan was an old guy, and he was just like trying to do whatever the jazzy, groovy kids. This is great.
Exactly.
He did a talk show though where he brought a bunch of like college age kids on and debated them, and the kids are all talking about like socialism and social justice and all this stuff, and Stan's like absolutely representing the square establishment only in that conversation. It was hilarious.
Right. How funny is that though, right? That he probably was, even as a younger man, representing the squares, but he, you know, he could speak the beatnik even if it was only phonetic, right? I mean, I bought it.
Well, he was the master of the power fantasy to come to life, and in this book, back to Man-Child.
Sorry,
the most no, that was a lovely rabbit hole. I loved it, but the most unrealistic part is when he's just having a break with his coworker, and she just out of nowhere offers to have sex with him in his car, and realize it's his first time ever, and he's just like, "Oh, okay, I'll do it." And when he comes back from that, now he feels like he's a man. Right. He's back in his parents' basement. He feels like now he's a man, and so this is sort of the reckoning of like the permanent man-child, right? It's right there in the title. It says it all, and dealing with these issues that I think are more prevalent now than ever, right? This is the incel. This is the is the highly, what do they call them? Oh man, just on the internet all the time guy kind of thing. This is like what we see today. So I think it's going to be fun to mess around with these tropes. I want to read more of this, and I hope that they can take me somewhere different that we didn't see. Like I said, this reminds me so much of the Venture Brother. Like if it wasn't for the butterfly thing, it wouldn't automatically make me think of that. I'm not saying it's derivative of it. Maybe they haven't even seen it, but it absolutely like I can't get that out of my head when I. That's my biggest knock on this.
Because it's just even starting with the cover, the thing I couldn't get out of my head. I'm like, I had to actually check myself. I'm like, oh man, you start thinking this is going to go bad. We got to look at the actual comic. But when I look at that, all I see is the movie poster for the Ben Stiller movie starring Jack Black about this dark ass shit where they market it as like these two comedy guys are taking you with them, and then have some fucking Oscar winning shit about how bleak it is. And then I watched the comic and I kept going, this is pretty commercial. They could probably do it. I wonder if they have a screenplay of this, because man, it's really nailing a moment in time. You got it with the incel thing.
I agree. It is. It's a great thing though. It's a lovely, well-produced, saddle-stitch,
it's
$4.99 comic.
Yeah,
from Foxhole Comics. You can check out.
I kind of hate books like that because there's nothing to talk about, right? That's great. No notes.
Yeah,
Nice job,
my only notes, like I said, would have been that Photoshop, that one bit of Photoshop background really stuck out at me on those pages only. That's my only artistic quibble, I think, with the whole thing. Thematically, I want to see what's more. I'm going to forgive my association with Venture Brothers and definitely say it exceeded what I thought it was going to be in that regard. So check out Man-Child. Nandor Fox Schaffer, Jay Mazar, and DC Hopkins.
Do they have a website? They must have one.
Yeah. Oh, so many websites here right on this card. That
I guess if you put Man-Child and Nandor into Google, that'll get you right there.
You want to go at Nandor Fox on Twitter, Welcome to the Foxhole at Facebook, or Nandor Fox Schaffer on Instagram, and Foxhole Comics on YouTube. He's working it, Larry.
Yeah, there you go. All right.
Working the whole thing. Big time.
Nice job, Nandor.
Big time. Good job.
Yeah, I'm definitely going to get one of those. That's top notch. And
he's got a vaguely like Star Trek sounding name with Nandor.
I was trying not to say that. Just some kind of like, we're in standard orbit of the planet Nandor.
Okay, now I want to.
He's probably sick of those jokes by the time he was 10, right?
But he's got what a classic like comic book publisher, like middle and last name. Fox Schaffer. It just sounds like a old-timey publisher.
Yeah.
Okay, this one comes from Sam, and I apologize if I'm mispronouncing the last name. Sam Tsohonis. Tsohonis? Tsohonis. I'm going to say Tsohonis. Oh, wait a minute.
I might not say the T.
I best showed their phone number. Oh, well. Okay. I want to read this because I rarely get letters. I love the letters. And so here we go. Hey, Dan. Recently discovered your show. Dig it and your whole vibe. You got me right there with vibe compliments. Thank you. I also dig that you're Palestinian. I was in the West Bank as an activist with ISM back in 2003. Have maintained some degree of activism in most years since. Next book I do has a lot to do with Israel and Palestine. Going to start as a gritty what if vigilantes really fought crime attack and ends up a psychedelic love cult in Jerusalem. Hoping to get some cred and audience with something less controversial first. That's what this book is. I just succeeded in doing a Kickstarter for the first issue's offset run. It's potentially a massive sprawling epic, but I'm trying to be realistic in what I expect from the first outing as a comics creator. Been drawing and writing all my life, but the included book is the first full set of pages I've ever finished. Dwee from Comics Cube interviewed me at Comics Cube recently. If you want to get to know more, go check out Comics Cube and look for Sam.
Hey, congrats on getting the first one is the hardest one to do. So totally. you are now a comics person. You did the work. We're looking at it. So right on, man.
And I'm gonna go one further and say it's a well-produced, nice-looking book. It's easier. It's getting easier and easier to do self-publishing these days, but that doesn't mean you can't put out something that looks ugly. And this looks nice. Good hand feel. It's got a slight mistrim on the front cover. I'm going to ding it only for that.
That's probably why you got it though, instead of him trying to sell it to somebody.
Could be factory seconds. I'll take them.
Yeah. I used to do that. Like here's a damaged book I can't sell, what do you think?
Perfect thing for dings and dents. Absolutely. Yeah. You get a ton of those, right? Yeah. Okay. The transmigratory adventures of Philip K. in the land of the in-betweeners. So this is Sam's kind of psychedelic approach to this character that they made up in I think he said high school. And it's this character Philip K. However, didn't know anything about Philip K. Dick when creating
That's cool.
the character. Is this coincidental?
No, Philip K. Dick from the Afterworld put that into that guy's mind.
Yes, that's what happened.
That's clearly he might have met him in the dream world.
He programmed the universe to calculate this to happen. Okay. So we're getting a psychedelic, like after death. This character had a death or a near-death experience, something, and woke up just in the desert, remembering only their name and going through a huge psychedelic trip becoming as large as the universe and smaller than whatever, you know, the whole, oh my Lord. And no, that's just a junk mail call. Okay.
I'm so used to the special effects on serious Star Trek. I was like, oh, what's this one?
No, that's somebody trying to sell me like a car warranty. Okay. Okay, so what we get here is well-drawn comics, get good, really crazy, bizarre stuff. This is probably my favorite part, where the character gets attacked by a balloon. And the balloon, he ties the balloon to himself, and it kind of grows a face and starts eating him and stuff. It's
Jesus.
very trippy and surreal. Of course, luckily, if you got a balloon problems, it's good to have a cactus nearby, solve these kind of problems. And we go to enter the hidden pyramid, of course, full of symbology, personal and universal and otherwise. To welcome to the Temple Excelsior, and we're continued for the next issue. There's a great sort of letters page or text back matter here that explains the evolution, how Sam came to this character, and how the sort of evolution. This is just another one of these people that got cooped up in the pandemic. Right. And just decided, I'm going to do that thing that I always said I don't have time to do, because now I got nothing but time on my hands. I think the pandemic was kind of a blessing in that way for a lot of people.
We used to eat a lot of good sourdough, and I know how to use a 3D printer now. So I think it was worth all the death.
That's nice. I love to juggle, so I go at least like 100,000 dead, huh?
That's where it was going. You're like, yeah, the quarantine was great. Like,
oh, it's getting hot.
No, it wasn't great. Okay. Anyway, all right.
That heat I just felt was like my community coming down on me for Larry's insensitive.
Right. It's all the angry letters you're gonna have to read now.
Okay, so again, we've got a cover price of $4.44 USD. So I support any cover price, but especially one that's weird like that.
Yep.
I like it a lot. I want you guys to go check out the Transmigratory Adventures of Philip K. in the Land of the In-Betweeners. People who like, say, Daniel Muller's comics, who we talked about on this show. Psychonaut Presents. This is in that wheelhouse for sure. Mm-hmm. So if you like taking drugs and reading comic books, or reading comic books about people taking drugs, or any combination of drugs and comics is going to work for you, you're going to enjoy Philip K.
Oh,
I mean that, and I mean that in a great way, because I like doing all those things. Okay, Larry, the last one. Oh, and we've got, wait a minute. Hey, Foxhole Comics. Thanks for taking a look at Man-Child #1. Glad you both enjoyed it. Issue #2 Kickstarter campaign is coming very soon.
Excellent. Nice work.
Also,
thanks for letting us read your hard work. Right?
Yeah, thank you for sending that in, Nandor. I appreciate it. Sorry for making fun of your name. We're not making fun of your name.
It's not really.
We're not.
No, we're just in a much friendly observations.
Who else we got? We got 11 people watching live right now. That's pretty good. That's good enough for me. And here's our next
Salgood Sam,
creator. Salgood Sam is watching now. Okay.
Wow.
Sam, we haven't looked at your stuff yet, so don't worry about it. We're going to look at it right now.
You've missed.
Here we go. Okay. Sam sent me. Sam thought I was still a retailer, so he sent me a couple of books. Sam's a pro. Okay, so this is not amateur hour. This is professional.
Oh man, he's been around for 20 years at least that I know of.
Yeah, it's a name that I know of really well, but I'm ashamed to admit I know that name more than I know any single comic maybe created by Salgood Sam. So this was a great opportunity. I go, man, I know that name. Why? Let me look at some of the comics. And boy, I was not disappointed. Sent me 3 books, actually, in 2 separate packages. One was his project Revolver, which was sort of his mini comic or individual creator anthology. So he does a bunch of different short stories or different stuff in here. in the style, like in the vein of, as he mentions, he's like, I loved 8-Ball growing up, right? That's Dan Klaus's
Yeah. Oh, that was great.
personal anthology type book. I like,
yeah.
Neat Stuff by Peter Bagg. I like one person doing a bunch of different strips. Unfortunately, in our current market, that's just not what sells anymore. Publishers are like, that's not what we want. What we want is an OGN. So he sent me one of those too. And I'm just going to say, I always say be true to yourself, but I'm going to say in this case, I think it was a good piece of advice because as much as I like the Revolver stuff, I was really sucked in to Dream Life, A Late Coming of Age. So let's first look at Revolver. And I'm just going to kind of page through it because you're going to see right away, a really high level of craft by Salgood Sam. Guy can draw like nobody's business.
I love that $1 Million Mailbox cam where you just zoomed in on that piece. I was like, oh hey. Yeah. And man, not to shine your shoes like I always do, but like just I don't know. You just somehow figure out. I was like, oh, I wish I could see that a little better. And then you do it. It's like, you know what the audience wants and you give it to them right when they have the thought. That's amazing.
Well, I'm looking at it here too. And I got to squint and I'm looking at it out a little window. So like, but this guy can, there's no doubt about it. Not only can he draw, it's the whole package, dude, because it's, there's obviously, to me, there's digital stuff going on, but it does not look obviously digital. That's the way you do digital correctly.
That's the best way. Yeah.
Right. This first one is more of a almost an illustrated short story, very text heavy with prose, I believe, by even a different writer. So some of this is collaborative work. I'm not going to delve into too many specifics, but it just shows the guy's command of a piece of paper, for goodness sakes. Like, I don't know how long it would take you to draw a page like this. I know I could work my whole life and it's never going to look close to this good. This is the kind of drawing I really love too. I really love stuff that walks the line between like photorealistic or photo referenced, but then is also very stylized. And like this, you got it going on here for sure. And I love orthographic type. I don't even know if that's right, but I love this kind of perspective drawing and the sort of sketchiness of it, how it sort of fades out into sketch lines. This looks like it came out of somebody's sketchbook who just put insane to work.
It's so funny for a guy who loves black and white comics as much as I do. I've just been commenting on all the colors. It's super nuanced. I love it. Palette choice,
so good.
Everything. It's really cool,
dude. So good. Like, that's a hell of a drawing right there, man. From the wash on the shirt, just to the body language of everybody. This is somebody who's just extremely talented. I really can't say enough about how much I like the drawings in this. It just hits me right in my sweet spot of drawing. I think reminds me maybe of a J.H. Williams, but not really. Oh, maybe in composition.
Yeah, I was thinking of the whole like Baron Story school. You know, more of like a McKeanish kind of thing. Yeah,
definitely McKean. Yeah. Like McKean, because, and especially as we'll see in the later books, like just a lot of work going on after the drawing. It's like you're doing drawings and you're bringing them together and compositing them. Look at this. This is really great stuff.
You hear the music, man. You hear the music. Not just the art, but the way the art. I'm tracing the lettering with my own mouse, as if you guys can all see that. But see how the flow of the lettering, you just kind of like, man, it helps to put the point across that music's going on. I actually hear "You Can Call Me Al," if that means anything. Probably not. Probably not.
It's probably not that square. I was thinking kind of Blue or Miles Davis.
Yeah, it's a more urban thing, I would imagine.
So good though. Just the body language. It makes me wonder, is it
Yeah,
photo
that's a great
referenced?
piece.
Even if it's photo referenced, it's clearly like somebody with
I don't know. Is that even like a ding anymore? Like,
nah.
I just, people are saying, oh, that's clearly photo reference. It's like, hey, guess what? Everything is, right?
All the
Everything
greats
is
were.
referenced. You're not, even when you make up, you're doing a painting of a planetary surface, right? You're using everything that you've known from your experience like that so stuff reads like a tree, even though it's alien, right? That's water, even though it's red. Like, I think, I don't know, unless you're, who is that guy, the guy that would use porn, Greg
Land.
Greg Land, yeah. Like, I think that, like, maybe you could say, hey man, stop with the photo reference.
I don't have a problem with it, dude. I go like,
I
all the greats used photo reference. Alex Raymond. What are you gonna say? Alex Raymond was a hack?
Right.
Fucking break. Then again, he didn't have Photoshop. Then again, they did have those kind of magic projector things that they would use. Neil Adams used it all the time.
Yeah.
Like, get over it, guys. Give me that same picture. Let me trace it and let me show you how terrible it will look, okay? Like, it ain't gonna look
right.
good.
Two people with the same light box are gonna come out with a different picture.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Okay. And so then go on here. There's some nice wordless stuff that's more in like almost an all ages comic.
Yeah, I like that style. That's cool.
Alien encounter, just like showcasing amazing work. Sam says, hey, that's the downside of a pen name. First pro work for 91 or so, 30 years
then. Yeah.
I still think of this because that's probably when I first saw the name. So I just think of this as like that new kid, but like he's a 30-year veteran.
Yeah.
Oh, Michael Cortez says, by the way, loving the show. Send in a graphic novel. Sorry ahead of time for not sending a cover letter. Michael, I got it.
That totally made me laugh. Like, nice job, Michael. Pre-apologizing.
Salga says McCain Sienkiewicz Baron's story were early unfences. I get references.
Influences.
Influences. Yeah. I do
That's
use reference for the buildings, but most of the figure work isn't directly photo referenced. So there you go. But I just got through saying how that was not a problem. So you get nothing, Sam. No, you get a lot, Sam. This looks great.
Yeah, this is top stuff.
That Rise and Fall story was written by a jazz musician from Chicago. Cool. I think he lives in Chicago too. Okay, this is one of the things I want to talk about, though, Larry. Lettering and Larry the letter Nazi. Okay,
it's like a fetish, man. That's all. It's I'm not Nazi about it.
To me, he's breaking the rules in the sense that he's not using not lining up his letters. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
These caption boxes, you can see through them. You can see the art through them, which is something I'm not used to seeing, but I like.
My position on this is that there aren't really lettering rules because they're suggestions. There's stuff you should do for legibility and clarity, But my philosophy is lettering is just as much a part of the art as the actual illustrations. So, and then the line is blurred even more when somebody starts doing stuff like this. Like, that's clearly part of the art. And as you say, lettering on a piece of typing paper and then gluing that to the art or whatever the Photoshop version of that is.
As a Dave head, of course you're going to say that about lettering, right? Because the lettering is, it's so important. But what I'm saying is, there's times when it's a little seems less than perfectly ruled out, but it works incredibly well as long as it fits the context of the story. That's all I mean by breaking the rules.
Yeah. No, I think you're right. It just becomes part of what you're looking at instead of a separate incident, right?
And we're getting to see him drawing these different styles. Here's one that's just, more pen and ink influence without the sketchy pencil. I like the sketchy stuff a lot, but like he's solid with his inks too. Okay, that's Revolver 1.
Cool.
And
Cool
this
book.
is Revolver 0. And maybe I'm wrong about this, but is it Revolver because it's an anthology and there's like 6 bullets or whatever? There's like 6 stories or however many stories, and tell one at a time. Oh, Montreal. He's from Montreal, not Chicago.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's take a look here at 0. I'm going to just go through here again. Oh, man, such good stuff. Here's this, opens with this accordionist. We love accordions. But here, Milton Glaser. So my advice finally about fear of failure, which is kind of a romantic idea. There's only one way out. That's just so intriguing to me. That's so intriguing. I really love it. Okay, more of this style that I love so much. This sort of colored sketchbook almost looking style that I just dig that style so much. Dude, how about, then not only is this guy, can he render the hell out of anything, his page layouts are not standard, but all work. They're not just like the standard cookie cutter stuff. And he gets very interesting and more complicated, especially in the graphic novel that I'll show you. But this is somebody I think, I got to think, hey, Salgood, are you getting work as an illustrator outside of comics? Because I think you should.
I love that's comics' highest compliment. Like you can get paid in the real world, right? That's how good, that's how good you are.
I'm just saying, not that those at art form is better at all, but yeah, you will get paid a lot more. And find work that's not doesn't take a year of your life, right? To put out a whole comic book.
Yeah. I'm in such a dopey mood this morning. I don't know what that's about.
Too much. You're on a Star Trek high from.
Yeah, man. I saw that new Star Trek. I'm so
world.
happy. I'm just so happy.
It's so you don't. How much joy that gives me, Larry, to hear you saying that.
Oh, right on. I totally get it. I literally just said to Hibbs, who's the biggest Matt Wagner fan ever. We were talking about the Grendel show that's coming, and I got to tell him to his face. I was like, "Hey, man, when I heard that news, I was happier for you than I was for actual Matt. Because I know what it means to him, right?
Yeah, totally.
Yeah. So that's
It means a lot to me too, man.
Yeah. How
about Mage though? We want Mage, right?
I'd love a Mage movie. I don't see
Mage.
The 3, you do the 3 movies like it's the friggin' Lord of the Rings, right?
I just need the first one. All I really honestly need is the Hero Discovered. If you pull that off, I'll take sequels to it, but just give me that one and do it right, and don't even think about the sequels. Yeah.
Right.
Okay, here's Sam just showing off. He's like, yeah, I can draw realistically. I can draw cartoony. You want me to draw in a underground style? I'll do that shit. I'll do what I want because I'm Salgood Sam, for goodness sake. This is good stuff. Just going on, and I just, man, to be able to draw like this just is it seems like an unattainable reality. I know I'll never be able to. You need a lifetime of work to get to this kind of level, but it's just inspiring because it has the look of somebody drew it. It doesn't feel like when you're looking at a movie poster or something like that, where it feels
right. Another profile of Tom Cruise. Yeah, I totally get it. You see the hand of the artist in the work.
That's what I guess that's what it is. And man, look, dude, Nelvana. So good. This has got a little bit of Frazetta.
Oh yeah,
going on in there. Yeah. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And cool fantasy art and stuff. Maybe you could. This is just every time I get blown away by the quality of stuff that's coming into the mailbox.
Yeah, it's fantastic.
But this is one where I feel bad that I haven't been looking at this guy's stuff for decades, because I think if I had really gotten a chance to sample it and love it early on, I would have just been I would have been a follower, and now I am a follower for sure. Let's see. Oh, he says, I've worked in just about every corner of the arts. Illustration pays way better, but hard to get. Okay, makes sense. I have a rep, but I only see one or so jobs a year in that. I work in animation right now, designing props. Oh, Larry, how is this guy not? Oh, man.
That's awesome.
Those are jam pages. And yeah, we talked a little bit online recently about like special effects shots and stuff too, that I was like shooting off my mouth about Strange New Worlds and a shot that I didn't like. And he was sort of correcting me on some of the industry terminology, which I appreciate. Oh man, look, okay. God damn, this stuff looks good.
Yeah, that's hot.
It's so good. And this is all, like I said, stuff from the anthology. Just the...
Well, there's a bit where your little head in the corner looked like you were part of the page. It was up a little, and you're like, oh, yeah, right on.
That speaks to my cartoonish good looks, I think. Yeah. This is great. Okay, now let's look at... Because Revolver, these are great. These sample this stuff. This stuff is still available. You can check out Salgood Sam's website, salgoodsam.com. But now let's dive into Dream Life before we got to take off, Larry.
Yeah.
We've gone on a long time now. We're on about an hour so far, but we're still going. This is good.
What happens when you got good works to look at, right?
Okay,
I'm actually pretty excited for this because the cover is more minimalist than the work that's in Revolver. So I'm like,
total. Well, and but it's inside. It's maximalist, man. It's I can't wait to see.
No, I know it's not his hallmark. That's why I'm like,
yeah.
He really puts the point on that you're putting the snooze button on life. It's a life o'clock, you know. So it's a really compelling cover. I like that.
Okay, I'm gonna just say this back cover got me. Why? Because here we go. Because I love technical drawings and I love exploded technical drawings so much that I'm in just from that. Oh, hey, kitty.
Yeah, it's Toodles.
But then he's like, okay, if that's not enough, let me get some pull quotes. So let me go out to Joe Randos on the internet, right? No, let's see. Joe Oilman says, Salgood Sam is a gifted draftsman in Dream Life. You can see he's enjoying himself immensely drawing every page of the sprawling story. Beautiful stuff. Then some dude, you ever heard of somebody named Jim Woodring?
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
Of course, he's a master. He says, wait a minute. Sorry. Oh, that's so much better.
Yeah, I don't even have anything to say about that.
Those who love and cherish our involuntary interior rambles can enjoy more of a good thing by diving into Salgood's Universal Trance Adapter. Those who like to stretch out on the couch and become immersed in a compelling story, terrifically told and beautifully drawn, can scratch that particular itch as well via Salgood Sam's powerful, virtuosic graphic novel Dream Life, says Jim Woodring.
Oh, cat, come here.
And then Bat and Lash, rest in peace. If you remember Bat and Lash, Wolf and Bird, Supernatural Law. I recently read Salgood Sam's new graphic novel Dream Life, and it is sensational. The story is thrilling, heartfelt, and heartbreaking. And the way Sam presents his narrative, weaving events past and present with a large cast of characters is evocative of a dream and a tour de force of comic storytelling. And finally, some dude named Mark Wade said, I couldn't put this down. Seriously, it's a keeper. Salgood Sam is one of the most interesting, unique voices in comics today. Friend of the show, Mark Wade, or one-time friend of the show. I don't know anymore.
Wait, there's a little story there, right?
Nah, I don't know. No, he's a friend of the show, of course. He's a friend.
Yeah, dude. What'd you do to piss him off?
Will he come back? Who knows? I don't know.
Oh, okay. Well, we'll talk about that later.
Okay, so this book, according to Sam, I think this is Sam. And I took this to heart. He said, this book is meant to be read a little bit slowly. Partly a philosophical stance, but mostly an intentional aspect of its narrative design. The drawings are done with a lot of detail to encode information, absent in the form of text. To read it fully, I suggest you should not skim. Readers will do as they will, but just to let you know my intentions in the crafting, if you flip through fast, you'll probably miss something. Okay. So rather than do what I normally do, which is read the comic right before this show, I read it last night. I took my time. I put on some soft jazz music and I read this whole thing and I lingered. Luckily, a lot of times people say that and you go to the pages and there's just nothing worth lingering on. I'm sorry, but like this, there's enough detail and enough beauty in every single page that I didn't mind lingering at all.
Wow, no, there's a compliment. Beauty on every page. You know, you don't often hear people put it quite that way. That's pretty poetic, man.
Every single page. There's no shortcuts.
Dan Shaheen trying to get quoted on the next volume.
Full quote. Internet nobody. Dan Shaheen says. The back cover got me a gig doing some secret art for the Criterion Collection for the Lone Wolf and Cub box set of movies. That's cool.
Oh, right on. Yeah.
And what? What did you do?
Yeah.
I don't know what I did.
My cat's sitting on my volume, so I know what you did. You're shouting. Oh wait, that's me.
So beautiful, beautiful stuff here in this story. It's surreal and weird. It's very dreamlike. I could see why Jim Woodring is into this. This is so Woodring, right?
Yeah.
I'll bet you Rick Veitch would enjoy it too. But I mean, dude, just look at look at the work on that ear. I don't want to like pull out something out of nowhere, but it's all so good.
That was just going to be my next thing, not the ear specifically, but that's a great thing for my point. Is that because we're old school guys that read the same stuff, we can see probable influences. You know, it was cool to hear him say, "Oh yeah, Baron Story guys and stuff," but we're kind of leaving aside like 90%. That's only 10% of it, right? That's where you get when you know what you're doing. So like all his, even though there's dream-like and ethereal quality to stuff, it's still based in physics and anatomy, and you know the perspective is always right there, even when it's like
this is what I'm saying.
Yeah. So like nobody ever talks about that it's like, man, you did your 10,000 pages before you showed us this stuff, right? So
dude, and how about this? Yeah,
everything kind of seems like a nitpick after that,
I love it's almost like composited here, these panels together. There's no borders, they flow into each other and it works. It really works. And the stuff that looks real here's another. Okay, I'll pull out another influence that I maybe see here. How about Brian Talbot?
Yeah.
I definitely feel, I don't know.
Yeah,
you tell me. Just in the sense of the, but when I say all these things, these influences, what I say is that he doesn't look like he's aping them or copying them in any way.
Right. Influence in the best possible way, like saying a movie quote to make your friends laugh, like we get what you're doing, that kind of influence.
Huh. Yeah, totally.
Your ideas are intriguing to me, and I wish to subscribe to your newsletter.
I agree. Okay, this is where we get into the drama, like the dramatic crux of the events. And this is where, oh my God, I don't want to. Okay, this is the work of a master, in my opinion, these couple pages, because it's very much like if this were done in a movie, it would all be about the actors. And there's little things like this is a scene of just a hitchhiker getting picked up by two dudes. And there's just something not right about these dudes. And like, look at those eyes in the rear view mirror. I don't know if you can make that out too well, Larry. That look says so much and tells so much that is germane to this story. It's like, something is not going to go well after this. You just know it, but it's not explicit.
What's cool about stuff like that is that the writer and the artist are the same guy. So he doesn't have to have a meeting or a phone call or an email string about why it's important to get that look just right in the mirror. because he knows what he intends there. So I always are jealous of artist writers like that, where as a writer, your artist either like does something exactly what you asked for good or bad, right? Or adds so much to it that you're like, holy shit, I would never have thought of that in a million years, and now I look like a genius, right? And so it must be cool to have that ability within yourself. You like, where you're like, when he wrote out the script, like, did he have that? Like, make sure to do the look just like menacing, just this amount of menacing in the rear view, or did he just go, oh, I know what I mean there, and I'll do it when I get there? I don't know. There's even with them here, there's probably not an answer that he could convey to us, right? Because it's a thing that goes on in his own head and talent. I mean, man, my best compliment I can give you is like on Star Trek, I'm always freaked out and talking a million miles an hour. And for this stuff, I kind of feel like I got a contact eye a little. It's like I'm really vibing this art,
Dude, he's so good.
Yeah.
I can't say enough. I'm just like, I don't know, man. It's really hard for me to. Oh yeah, that's what I was going to say. That in Watchmen, in the final issue of Watchmen, there's a moment where, remember, a Night Owl and Silk Spectre hooked up again in the fortress after Adrian is dead, and they sort of made love in front of the pool, spread out, and Dr. Manhattan walks in and sort of through the wall and sees them and gives them this look. And if you read the script, it's like he gives them a look that is simultaneously like approving and yet patronly, and like it's just such a rich description. And then when you look at that picture, that's exactly what is being conveyed in the facial expression of Dr. Manhattan. And when he's telling me he's not using photo references for faces and stuff, this just tells me the guy's got a lot of skill.
Or that's a real person in his mind, right? And so it's easy to, to draw because he's a friend of yours that you have to, see.
Maybe
get this out, I don't know. I have these conversations with artists all the time. It's really fun. The answer is different for everyone. That's why I'm interested in it.
How about this? This is something I haven't seen before. Really cool. Single shot, and then we want to focus in on a part of the action, and then we want to focus even more in on the action. That's something cool I haven't seen before. Spoiler alert, guys. Sorry.
That woman hates trees.
I'm not going to spoil everything, but there are some characters in it, some such great. Oh yeah, this scene. I want to jump to this scene because this guy, I don't know what his deal is, but he's one tough motherfucker. I love it. There's a moment here where, he's in the bar and these sort of drunk idiots are fighting and he just wants nothing to do with it. And then we have this scene where the guy kind of like does something. And you can't tell what he's doing. I'm like, what's he doing? And the guy's just like, oh, okay, now I'm looking at you. Now what? This guy's the super tough guy who beats the shit out of him. And then I was like, he didn't really communicate what went on there. Like he didn't, I thought, I'm like, wow, that's the first mistake, if you will, like first like panel to panel continuity. And then no, of course not. I'm reading it. And later on, it's just like, yeah, it's the reveal later on that he's stuck with a switchblade. Just to show you what a tough guy that guy is. Maybe supernatural too, hard to say at this point in the story. But I'm going to agree with the superlatives of the pull quotes on the back of this thing. It really sucked me in. I could not stop reading it. As soon as I started, I had to finish it all the way. I had to put off watching Obi-Wan Kenobi, corporate media. And frankly, I then went and watched Obi-Wan Kenobi, and I fell asleep before the end of the episode.
What? My kid did too. I couldn't believe it.
It's okay. It's just okay. Every time I watch that show, we'll talk about it maybe on Friday.
Yeah.
Every time I watch Star Trek stuff, I gotta remind myself it's a kid's show, essentially. Like this is a show that should be good for a 12-year-old kid to watch, and they would really like it. And then I go, yes, they would. Absolutely. I wouldn't ask all the nitpicky, stupid questions that like you and me want to ask.
Right. Me, I'm just glad there's new Star Wars stuff. I don't care.
And that's halfway decent, right? Yeah, absolutely. There's never a shortage of new stuff.
I don't love it like I love Star Trek, so just put the new stuff on. I don't care.
Okay, now let's talk about, wait a minute, panel-less page layouts in an action scene, just for a second, just so we could talk about, like, dude. It's like an Escher drawing almost.
That's great. Right? Yeah, no, but like, yeah. You get kind of like the idea of the concept of MTV editing in one illustration.
Yeah, now what that kind of fight is like when you're in it, right? Like, beautiful.
Yeah, that's awesome. I like that.
Okay, I'm not going to flip through every page because we're kind of running out of time. And also, I don't want to spoil it, but I will spoil this by saying it's to be continued. I don't know if book 2 is out yet. Yeah. Hey, Salgood, how about book 2? Do we got one of those yet? Can I order that? I will pay money for it to read it when it's available. Or you could send me one too. I don't want to jinx that if that's a possibility.
You know what I was thinking? The thing I like about that graphic novel, talking about sending money, there's like 5 pages in there that I would buy the original art for and hang it
Just
up.
as I'm saying.
You know, it's like, that's pretty rare that, unless you're, just doing a pinup book on purpose, that you have something storytelling that flows on one. I don't know. That's great. I like it.
Salgood says, hey, thanks for little things like that. Look, thanks for little things like that. Look, it might be in the script, but often it comes out as the pages develop. Looking at thumbs, I start to see. So it's like truly like the way a director or maybe a DP would compose shots, or I don't know, like it's something like if this were a movie, they could have storyboarded that look in the mirror, I guess, but they could never quite capture it's the actor's performance that's going to sell it,
right?
And do it. And this is where I go. Comic book artists do all the jobs of like everybody in the movie.
Now he's got that's when we were talking about Star Wars, a Punky Brewster in space is the little baby Leia. I just love that they kind of went, oh, you like that baby Yoda? Well, guess what? We got like baby Carrie Fisher going.
Oh, Punky. I
think that kid, though, we can joke. That little kid, man, that's great. She sells that. You totally see that could be, Princess Leia as a kid.
Does she seem 10 years old to you or a lot younger than that? Like I look at her and I go, she doesn't look like a 10-year-old kid.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. Whatever they tell us. I don't.
But that's what I mean. She's even younger, I think.
But I mean, kids are like between. She looks. If you told me she was between 8 and 12, I'd go okay. But that's a big range in little kids. So I'm just saying that's how much I don't pay attention to what little girls look like. And frankly, I'm surprised that came up today.
I'm leaving that one alone.
Yeah, I know. I told you I'm in a weird mood.
So Salgood says volume 2 started but not done yet. Okay, we're looking out for it, Sal. When you're ready to talk about it, let's talk about it on the show. For sure. Yeah. Fearless Loser, she's fun to watch. Yeah. I what did I not like about Obi-Wan? We'll talk about it on Friday, maybe, Larry.
Yeah,
it's a lot of
do one of those.
Like suddenly they're on the roof, then they're on the ground, then they're on the roof, kind of things like that.
Yeah.
And
there's the one quibble I had in the latest one was somehow Darth Vader didn't have the Force ability to light all that shit on fire again and just friggin' kill him. And I don't know. There's a lot of people forget that they can use the Force. That's my big problem with Obi-Wan. But that's the problem in the plot, right? It's like, well, if he remembered he can use the Force, then this scene doesn't develop the way we need it to sell the toys and extra pop guns and whatnot.
But I mean, he still remembers he's got a lightsaber and knows how to use one, right? So like people come at him with guns and like it should have been. And then he's got to throw the spice drug. Like it didn't.
No, I totally get that one because for the last 10 years, he's just been cutting fish out in the desert, right? He hasn't been training. He's tired. He goes home and, downloads some bantha porn or something and goes to bed. right? He's not like, oh, I gotta be in shape in case the vampires come back. He's not doing that.
But he did that hand-to-hand battle with those dudes and took them
Yeah,
out.
he remembers what to do.
Yeah.
He's just 10 years of sitting around eating donuts, right?
I'll buy it. I'll keep watching because Ewan McGregor is
as a guy who's spent the last 10 years sitting around eating donuts, I think I'm pretty much expert on this one.
Yeah, but you don't frequently train on the lightsaber in between those donuts. I would think you would, Larry.
Nah. I don't know.
All right, Larry, I gotta get
on that note. Yeah.
I want to thank you for your time again. I want to thank everybody out there for watching. I want to thank you, Captain Fun.
All the cats who did the work too. I want to thank you guys. We don't have anything. Oh, we'd be talking about something else. I was going to say we don't have anything to talk about if you don't send.
Well, Larry, where do they send that stuff to anyway?
If I'm not mistaken, it's the Million Dollar Mailbox, P.O. Box 1163 in beautiful downtown Arcata, California. 95518.
Yeah, that's right. Send that stuff on in, folks. Send it in and we will put it up. We will spread it out and we will give you the kind of lavish, deluxe, no holds barred treatment that you saw on today's show. So please send that stuff in. Check me out. Check us out this Friday. Me and Captain Fun here are coming back on Friday, and we'll really talk about Star Trek, Strange New Worlds. I always want to call it Brave New Worlds for whatever reason. We'll talk about that, and maybe we'll talk about Obi-Wan and maybe some other stuff.
I'll give you a hint. This is my favorite goddamn episode of Star Trek of the 800 hours of actual Star Trek, and that includes the former top one, Darmok. I think I might like this a little better. Isn't that crazy? Like for the last 4 years, I've been going, "Fuck you, Star Trek." Oops. That's what I've been doing. And now it's like, oh, I'm sorry. Did I say it's the best fucking thing ever now? I took a big
That's great. I can't wait to go watch it. I'll be honest.
I took a big swing. They did good.
Cool. Okay, well, guys, come Friday. If you want to hear about Star Trek, you want to join in on that conversation. That's really what we're trying to do there is build a community, right, Larry? We're trying to make this thing happen. So bring your friends, invite your friends, schedule your lunch hour. Come on in, serious Star Trek. Enjoy yourself. Have some fun for a change.
We talk about more stuff than Star Trek, but that's the lead-in. Okay. Like the Orville. Oh, my God. Jeff just said new Orville today, too. Don't think we won't be talking about that tomorrow.
Oh, okay. Maybe I'll take a peek.
Yeah.
All right, guys. I got to get out of here. But until then, Larry, I'm going to play the credits, and I've got a closing cameo today with the secret origin of the name Million Dollar Mailbox. So you're going to want to stick around for that. All right, guys. We'll see you. When am I going to see you? I know when we're going to see you next time.
Now, Rod, you order anything you want for your big 10-0.
$1 million birthday fries!
Uh-oh! Mo gets so excited when you order his $1 million birthday fries, he just has to celebrate.
Here you go. Here I am. Uncle Mo. Thank you, ma'am. This'll be a treat. Uncle Mo, here I am while you eat. Please take the fries off my head, kid. The basket is extremely hot.